in the range of low-end power supplies, I tend to recommend, number one right now, I recommend the Antec Basic. It's spelled B-A-S-I-Q, not B-A-S-I-C. It's a 350 watt power supply. Any of the Antec Basic line are really good, but there's a 350 watt power supply that you can get off of Newegg or at Fry's Electronics. You can buy them at several brick and mortar stores for $29.99. It's actually based on a Seasonic build, and it's actually very, very good for the price you're paying. Now, it's only 350 watts, so you're not going to be able to power, you know, a big fancy graphics card. You know, you're not going to be able to power a $400 graphics card with this. But, you know, you can easily power a dual core, you know, a basic dual core system with a basic video card or onboard video, and 2 or 3 hard drives even, and, you know, optical drive or whatever. They're fairly robust little power supplies. I actually have an Antec Basic around here somewhere, that same model, and I don't know what the hell I did with it. It's driving me crazy. But anyway, so for those of you who are building more enthusiast level computers, you know, something like a quad core Intel Core 2 quad, or the new i5 i7 rigs, you're going to want something a lot more beefier. You're probably going to have a fairly nice video card, something that's going to require, you know, quite a bit of power. And that's where I say, you know, you definitely want to spend at least $70 or $80 on a good quality power supply. 650 watts minimum. PC Power and Cooling makes their silencer series. I do believe they make a 650 watt that's around 80 bucks. I recommend Corsair's line of power supplies. Again, they're I think they have a 750 or a 650 watt TX line power supply that goes for around $80. That 750 TX that I have in my machine goes for around 100 bucks, $99. I actually highly recommend that one. The 750 TX is based on a Channelwell build, CWT, so it's not quite the Seasonic build, but it doesn't really matter because Corsair have gone in and replaced all the components with you know, really highly rated, you know, rated to 50 degrees Celsius components, so it doesn't really matter. They put out great voltages, stable voltages. You know, you can rest assured that your components are going to have a long life when they're powered by a good power supply. Some of the other you know, value in power supplies. A lot of people want to know this because they're building machines for folding, or they're building something for their homes, you know, a home server that's just going to sit in the closet. It doesn't necessarily have a nice video card in it or anything like that. Aside from that Antec Basic, again, that's spelled B-A-S-I-Q, I can recommend, and some of you might be surprised to hear this, but FSP, they're also, that's Fortron Source, they're also known and sold as Sparkle power supplies. They actually do their own power supply manufacturing. They're not, you know, this is not a rebranded power supply. They build their own units, and their value in units, you know, anywhere from 300 watts to 500 watts are actually fairly decent for the money. They'll last for several years. You know, they're not going to win any awards, but they sell, you know, they go for pretty cheap, and they last forever. So, you know, if you're looking to build yourself a machine on the cheap, you might want to give FSP a look. Now, I do not recommend buying any of their high-end power supplies, you know, 700, 800, 1,000 watt power supplies, because, you know, they're built very well, but FSP has this design flaw in their high-end power supplies that causes what we call dirty power. And it causes you know, the more the power supply is loaded towards its rated capacity, the wavier the output on the 12 volt line gets. And so while that might not cause you any noticeable problems in the beginning, it tends to shorten the life of your components because all the power regulation circuitry on your motherboard and your video card has to do extra work to clean up that dirty power that the power supply is putting out. So I totally recommend, if you're building an enthusiast rig, you want something that's 700, 800, 1,000 watts or higher, that you go with PC Power and Cooling, or definitely Corsair. In fact, I'd actually say Corsair is my favorite. So they'll buy the PC boards from Channelwell Technologies or Seasonic, and then what they'll do is, instead of buying a whole unit from Seasonic, they'll just buy the PC board, and then they'll populate the PC board based on Seasonic or Channelwell's specifications, but with components that are rated to a much higher temperature, 50 degrees Celsius versus 35 or 40 degrees Celsius, and they're much higher component quality overall. So this power supply is liable to last you 10 years versus 2 years. If you spend 40 bucks on a power supply, it's going to give you subpar performance, and it's going to last maybe 2 years before it either blows up in your face or just quits working. So again, I really recommend Corsair. PC Power and Cooling is really somewhat better quality. The difference is very subtle, but you do pay a price premium, and that's why I tend to recommend Corsair, because the bang for the buck is quite a bit better with the Corsair. And Corsair makes a whole range of power supplies. They have their TX line, which is the one that I use and prefer, and this is because the price is lower, but you get more wattage and a better quality power supply, but it's not modular, meaning that all the cables, like this, all the cables just come out in one big bundle, and you're responsible for routing them in your case or hiding them or whatever. Well, then they have their HX line, which comes in several different wattages, up to 1200 watts I think now, and that one is modular, and whereas instead of coming out in one big bundle, the back of the power supply unit has a series of plugs on it, and they include cables that you can just plug in as you need, and it gives you better cable routing opportunities in your case. And then again, they have their VX line. VX is their value series line. I know they make a 300, 400, and 500 watt. VX again is their value series line. It's meant to give you the most bang for your buck, no frivolities, no modular interface. But again, I highly recommend the VX series, especially if you're looking to build a cheap machine that's going to last you a long time. Not necessarily a big gaming rig, but something with maybe one video card. You can get that 500 VX from Corsair, and it'll last you forever, and it's a Seasonic build. And on the odd occasion that you do have something go wrong, Corsair's customer service department is just second to none. They're a pleasure to deal with, but that also goes for PC Power and Cooling. They're the same way. Their customer service is second to none, and that's one of the things you're paying for when you pay a higher price. But I'm going to wind this up and just say, whatever you do, do not go and spend $20, $30, or $40 on an 800, 700, 800, 900, 1,000 watt power supply and really expect that that's what you're going to get. Wattage is not everything. You don't go shopping looking solely at wattage. You want to look at brand name, reputation, and build quality first. Wattage second, because wattage is the number that they can just throw out there without even testing their units. There's no regulation there that they have to follow. So again, you get what you pay for. If you're putting all this money, it's so hard for people to realize, but if you're putting all this money into your PC, especially if you're an enthusiast, and you're spending thousands of dollars when it comes to your motherboard and CPUs, you're getting the high-end CPU, quad-core, Intel i5 or i7, and you're getting a big fancy video card, the Radeon 5000 series, or the new GTX 400, even though it sucks. The last thing that you want to skimp on is your power supply. Your power supply is what is providing power to everything in your machine.